Now, during the NATO Foreign Ministers meet held on Friday, Ukraine has urged the body to act now to ensure Putin doesn't turn Ukraine into Syria. Ukraine also asked NATO to help them in their fight against Russia. Meanwhile, NATO said it was not part of the conflict but added that it was ready to deploy its response force. NATO also called on Russia to withdraw all its forces from Ukraine without conditions. Now, my colleague Pradeep Datta gets us a ground report from war-struck Ukraine on day 10 of Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Take a look at this.
The 10th day of war, I, Pradeep Datta, reporting for Mirror Now, getting you all updates from Ukraine. Russian media has claimed that Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, has fled to Poland. If this news is correct, not a psychological warfare, then it's definitely going to have a big impact on morale of Ukrainian troops, because he was a man who had been holding fort for the last few days. He was almost a hero for the people, not only in Ukraine but also in different parts of the world, because unlike Ashraf Ghani, he did not flee from his region. He kept on sending videos from bunkers where he was trying to convey a message that they are going to fight till last breath and they were ready to take on mighty Russian army. So if this thing has happened, definitely the wall of resistance that had been there will crumble, because Russians had been trying their level best to demolish that wall of resistance that has been created by Ukrainian army as well as public there, because they are trying their level best to ensure that Russians are not able to enter Kyiv. Despite all those weaponry they have in their arsenal, they have failed to do so in this regard. Meanwhile, Zelensky has also claimed that there had been 3 assassination attempts on him by the Russian troops. Meanwhile, right now, the alarm bells have already started ringing ever since Russians have targeted a nuclear plant. They have had control over that region. It appears maybe Vladimir Putin is trying to cross those nuclear red lines, because if this thing happens, definitely it's going to be a matter of concern, because thank God this nuclear plant that was hit by the Russian missile did not get destroyed. Otherwise, it would have led to a disaster that would have been 10 times more what we saw in 1986 in Chernobyl. Meanwhile, the situation here in Ukraine continues to remain tense. Russians keep on pounding shells, targeting cities. And for India, the main concern remains evacuation of students, because still there are many of them stuck up in the eastern part, and efforts are on to get them back home. But unfortunately, some politicians have started playing politics over this issue. They're trying to score brownie point. But I think that this is not the good thing to do at this stage, because this is the time when country need to be united, because at the end of the day, there's a humanitarian crisis here in Ukraine. It can prove catastrophic if Russian invasion is not going to stop. So far, the Western world has failed to stop Russians from doing so.
Meanwhile, Russia has warned its neighbors. In its latest statement, Putin insisted that while his government has no bad intentions, it asked Russia's neighbors not to impose any sanctions on it. Putin said, and I quote, "We've no bad intentions. There's no need to escalate the situation. Impose restrictions. We will fulfill all obligations," end quote. Those are the words of Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. I'm joined by Times Network's National Affairs editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary, at the moment. Srinjoy, if we can see, it's day 10 of the aggression in Ukraine. Russia, of course, despite facing multiple sanctions from several countries, is still going ahead with its aggression. The latest worry, of course, being the nuclear plant seizure. There's been massive global reactions on it, but nothing seems to be deterring the Russians at the moment.
Well, as far as the nuclear plant seizure is concerned at Zaporozhye, the point here is that has there been damage to the plant? Because the Russians know, and the Ukrainians know, and East Europeans know what happens if the plant is damaged and there is a burst of radioactive gas or contamination in the air. That will be absolutely crucially dangerous. That will hurt not just Ukraine, it will hurt Russia terribly. And the Russians are well aware of that. Now, they could have taken the plant because this is war. But the question is whether there has been any damage to the plant. So far, while India has spoken about it, India has cautioned about any possible damage to the plant. Luckily, there appears to be no damage to the plant, as was the case in, say, Chernobyl in 1986. That would have led to, that was a huge calamity. And if this happens, this would be worse than the war. About that, there is no dispute. But so far, we have not heard any report of extensive damage to the nuclear power plant. That is perhaps the only silver lining there. Yes, the Russians would have taken it. There is huge international concern about it. But as far as damage is concerned, it has not happened. Let's not forget that when the explosion happened in Chernobyl in 1986, Gorbachev, Mikhail Gorbachev, who was General Secretary of the Soviet Communist Party, actually flew back to Moscow to ensure, to sort of direct rescue operations. This would have been a huge crisis. Luckily, that has not happened. The only other silver lining is that as far as all those several hundred students, Indian students in Kharkiv were concerned, most of them are now outside Kharkiv. There was a lull in the fighting yesterday, and many of them managed to leave. What we are hearing is that they managed to leave towards the west. And luckily, there are very, very few, if any, Indians in Kharkiv at the moment. Far fewer than there were 2 days ago. That is a big positive. Meanwhile, everything is ready. If people have to go towards Moscow, there are planes ready. If people have to go towards the west, there are planes ready. India is ready with all eventualities. The only concern now appears to be the 700 Indians in Sumi. In Sumi is an area where there are two groups of students in two different areas. Luckily, both the Ukrainians and the Russians know where they are. But getting them out from Sumi is going to be the next challenge.
Right, 700 Indians in Sumi, that is the next big challenge for Indian authorities in terms of the evacuation operation. Srinjoy, thank you so much for that comprehensive analysis of the ground situation in Ukraine. And as Srinjoy there was in fact talking about the Indian evacuation operations, now Indian students stuck in Sumi have urged Indian government to evacuate them, saying there's no electricity and water and they fear they will not be able to survive if things get worse. Remember, Russia claims that Sumi, which is a key port city, is under its control.
We are going to the bunkers in the last time, and now from the last 6:30 p.m. yesterday till now there is no water, no electricity. I don't know how long our phone battery is running, and we all are stuck, and the snowfall is also here, and every day the temperature is low degree, like -2 degrees Celsius, -3 degrees Celsius, but the snow today will be happen, and we all are very worried about the Sumi state students. Please help us to evacuate from here.
More breaking updates coming in, and energy prices have soared after Russia attacked a major Ukrainian nuclear plant yesterday, the largest in Europe, exacerbated by worries about the hit to the European economy and to the country in general. There's been a major impact in global stock markets and also as far as the crude oil prices are concerned. Oil prices continue to push higher, with the global crude oil figures ending up at $118 per barrel, the highest that it has seen since 2013.